Hi, and welcome to my channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me again today. Today, we are still continuing our conversation about all things real estate. So, this video is going to focus more so on the individual who is looking to sell their home. I know we've been talking a lot about home purchasing and the process for individuals looking to find a home, but we are going to also give that information to those people who are looking to for those who are looking to sell their homes. So let's get into it. Now, a lot of times whenever individuals are looking to sell, I still encourage the same thing as I do whenever it is a individual that's looking to find a realtor to buy a home. I would set up interviews for 3 to 5 realtors to come by, give you a comparison. It's called a CMA, and it's a comparable market analysis. What that is they will be able to give you a close look at what your property could possibly sell for based on the comps in the area. Comps being subject properties that are similar to the size of your home, bedroom size, bathroom size, yard size, and the average range in years. Now, depending on the area that you live in, comps may or may not be available in your immediate neighborhood. And what that means is you may have a home that's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and it's 1,200 square feet, and you have a half an acre of land. Well, there may not be comps in your area that meet that criteria. So they may have to go a little ways outside of the neighborhood to determine what your property would be worth. So that's not uncommon. And they do it based on a 6-month period to see which houses have sold in the last 6 months. They also take into consideration the homes that are currently on the market that are getting a lot of traction to determine price. So there's a lot that goes into trying to determine what your property would sell for. Now, the biggest thing with sellers is that sellers think that their properties are worth a lot more than they actually are. And you have a hard time convincing them that that's not the case. And they do it based on whatever they've done to the property. I did this, I did that, I changed the floors, we just put a new roof on the house, and all of those things are great things. However, those things do not impact what the market will allow you to sell that property for. So as realtors, our hardest job with sellers is, one, convincing them that this is what the market will allow you to sell it for at this moment. And the second thing is, why hasn't my house sold in 2 days? They want it sold immediately. And then sometimes you have, depending on where they're located, depending on what the property offers, you can't necessarily control who will be interested in that property. All you can do is advertise the property, host open houses, and just make sure that you network with other realtors that may be looking for their buyers something that you think they might be interested in. That's the only thing you can do. The market is going to do what it's going to do, and people are going to like the homes that they like. There's no way to control that. And so that becomes a big thing with sellers, which is why a lot of the times sellers have multiple realtors that they use. Like normally, if you list a house, you do it for a 6-month period. If that house so happens to stay on the market 6 months, if of course you've been doing everything that you can, most times they'll tell you like, hey, what's going on with it. Do you think we should drop the price? Do you think, what do you think it is? And sometimes it's not even the price. Sometimes it's just bad timing for real estate. Like for real estate, maybe between September, October, November, December, it starts to decline a little bit. I think because people are getting ready for the holidays, colder weather. So we always see a decline in sales and movement once individuals have, once the holidays are coming up. So you don't necessarily see a whole lot going on in those months. You will see some, but it's not nearly as much as it is in our busiest seasons, which is going to be April to August. Everybody is trying to get moved to either be in a different school district, where they want the kids to go, or they're trying to get moved before school starts back, or that's just the busiest time between April and August, and then things start to kind of settle down. So with sellers, that's kind of the biggest thing, is why hasn't my home sold? And it's not necessarily that it's anything wrong with the home. It may just be bad timing when you place it on the market, or you cannot control who loves the property and who doesn't. It just doesn't work that way. You will get the right buyer, but you have to be patient. It's a process. So dealing with sellers, for me, I would much rather be a buyer's agent. And the reason for that is because, one of the biggest reasons is I absolutely love the process of helping individuals find that first home, or that perfect home, or their dream home. And I like seeing the excitement on their faces when they close, and it's no better feeling than that. Now with sellers, I will do sellers, but I just think it's a lot of responsibility that goes along with being a seller's agent, and it's beyond my control. I guess is what it is. I feel like realtors are it's a demanded role as being a seller's agent, and sometimes you get like the short end of the stick because they get frustrated and irritated with you, but it's not necessarily something that you can control. Like if you're advertising and if you're doing everything short of buying the property yourself, it's kind of like you're at a standstill. Like, what else can I do? And then you start to reach out to other agents that's in your company, or even some outside of your company, to find out if they have buyers that are looking in that price point, and looking for however many bedrooms. It's only so much you can do as a seller's agent, and you run into those issues sometime too as being a buyer's agent. If the inventory is low, you've shown them properties, and now you're stalking the computer to see when something new comes up, so you could be the first person to show it to your clients before other people start to. You have those instances there as well, but I just feel like with the seller's agent, you really get a bad rep, when you don't sell it as quickly as they think you should. So, of course, with sellers, interview. Never make promises to the sellers because they hold you to them. Never tell them you can get their property sold in 2 weeks, or you can get their I guarantee you I can get it sold in 30 days. Never make those type of guarantees, because they hold you to them. And you don't control the market unless you already have a client that is looking, that has already seen it, that has told you. Even then, I just wouldn't do it. So you never make guarantees, never make promises to them. And you always want to be honest with them about what the market will allow. I never take a property that I've did a comparable on, and the comparables tell me that that property will probably go between 150 and 160. I'm not gonna let the seller pressure me into listing it for 200,000 because I set myself up for failure, because I know it's not gonna go for that amount. And what's gonna end up happening is the seller is gonna list it at 200,000, and he's gonna be looking for you to work a miracle, even though you've told him that the price point should be 150 to 160. And when you don't deliver the 200,000 that you told him was not gonna work, it's your fault. It's your fault. You never want to list it for more, because you set yourself up for failure, and you lose a whole lot of time trying to sell that property for an amount you know you won't sell it for. So I am always going to be honest with my clients, and if I come back with a comparable of 150 to 160 and they're not comfortable with that, and they feel like it's more or it should be more, then from that point, because I'm never going to tell them that I'm right and they're wrong. From this point, we're going to recommend that the seller get a appraisal of that property. That's where you bring in a specialist that's going to go through the property, do their due diligence, appraisers. They're going to appraise that property, and they're going to tell them exactly what it's worth. If they come back and say it's 175, we can list it for the amount the appraiser says, because you know why? When a buyer comes to buy that property, their appraisal, whenever they do their lending, is going to require an appraisal, and they won't be allowed to purchase that property for more than it's actually worth. So at that point, I've gotten the appraiser to kind of confirm what it is that I had been telling them about the 150 to 160 range. And again, when we do the comparables, this is just a comparable analysis of what's currently on the market, what has sold in the last 6 months, and what has the most traction right now, and where they need to place it for sale. Doesn't mean that they couldn't get more for it, but it does have to appraise for what that buyer is going to offer to purchase it at. So, when we disagree on price, from that point, the only thing you can do is bring in a specialist, which is an appraiser, and they can do an appraisal. Appraisal is going to give you the exact amount. It stops there. Once you get the appraisal in, it stops there. You can list it for 200,000. However, I'm not going to list it for that. See, what a lot of people don't understand about me is I do real estate because I really enjoy doing it. Of course, I do it for the money, but I really have a passion for it. And before, I'll turn down deals. I've done it before. I do it in my tax preparation all the time. I'll turn down a deal before I allow you to set me up to fail. So if we have an instance to where I'm saying listed 150, 160-ish, so we can sell it, and you get the appraisal, because it's okay for us to disagree on the price. You say, no, I don't want to sell it for that. Hey, let's get an appraisal. We get the appraisal. They come back and say, oh, the house is worth 170. And I'm telling you that it's not going to sell for more than what it appraises for, and you still want to list it at 200,000, I'm going to respectfully decline the agreement to be your selling agent, and I'm going to wish you the best of luck in selling your home, because I'm not going to. It's a waste of time. And even if they could get someone that purchased it for 200,000, if they're going to finance it, the bank is only going to finance what it appraises for. And I would imagine no one is going to come. They're not going to love your home that much where they're going to come out of pocket an additional $30,000 just to say they bought it for 200,000. I don't go back and forth about it. I'm just gonna respectfully decline and move on. I'm not gonna argue with you back and forth because you have an idea of what your property is worth, and that is your right. However, I do have the right to decline a job position because that's what it is. They're interviewing you to determine if they should hire you to sell their property, and you do have the option to turn down a job that you figure you're not best suited for. So you can do that. Another thing for the sellers is a lot of time you have to be careful because there are things called property disclosures that the sellers have to fill out. And you are not, as a realtor, supposed to fill out anything with the property disclosures. Nothing. No, you can't put a date on it. You can't fill in anything on the property disclosures. And you have to be careful with the property disclosures because you always have to let your sellers know that they have to list anything that has happened on that property that they know of. They have to be 100% completely honest. And a lot of times you get sellers who are trying to hide the fact that it may have flooded 2 years ago, or hide the fact that it was a few foundation issues, and they're saying, do I have to list that? And I don't really know for certain. No, if you had a foundation expert out here 2 years ago where there is a paper trail showing that you contacted a foundation company to look at your foundation, you need to put on there possible foundation issues, had a engineer out in 2018. That doesn't necessarily mean that there is an issue there. That just means that you had it done, because the worst thing that can happen is you put on there, no, there are no foundation issues. Sorry about that. No foundation issues, and it comes back saying that 2 years ago you had a foundation expert out there. No, just be honest. If there was a flood, be honest. If there are things that you have no knowledge of, then they have the option where you can say no knowledge, and you can always put that on there. But a lot of times to get their property sold, they like to omit certain information, and you just can't do that, because what will happen is if someone purchases that property and find out later that that was an issue and that you were aware of it, not only that can they sue you, but they can also get out of that home sale at your expense, at the seller's expense. So you never want to mislead potential buyers into purchasing a property by not providing all of the correct information. So we definitely always want to be truthful, always want to be honest, because at the end of the day, you could be a buyer, and I'm certain that you probably wouldn't want that to happen to you and get misled by a property once you purchased it and then you find it out later. That kind of sucks. So, and then also for sellers, always know what your payoff amount is on your property. Always have an idea of the amount that you'll be out of once you sell your home. And the reason for that is, I know a lot of times the sellers want to base what they can sell their property for based on what they owe. You can't do that. You have to be realistic in what you owe and what you can get for your property. The fact that you may owe more than you can sell it for is not a reason to place a high ticket price on what you'll sell the home for. A lot of times people will have a first mortgage and then they'll have a second mortgage. They might have a lien on the property, and all that may exceed what they can sell it for by $20,000, and they want to tag it on to the purchase price. You can't do that, because if it does not appraise for that, the bank is not going to loan a buyer that money for that. What is it?
Where's your charger?
I'm using it.
Oh, okay.
So, sorry about that. So in that instance, you will need to find out how much you owe. Make sure that make sure you have allotted for the commission that you'll have to pay to your selling agent. Oh, I'm sorry. This is something a lot of other people don't know. Whenever you get a buyer and you're a buyer's agent where you're helping the buyer to get a property, the buyers think sometimes that they have to pay you to help them to buy a property. It does not come from the buyer. It comes from the seller. So if I'm helping a buyer to find a property and the person's property that I'm selling to my buyer, they're paying the commission to their agent, which is the selling agent, as well as me as the buying agent. So I think that's a misconception that buyers have whenever they get ready to purchase a property. They're like, I can't really afford to pay you. And it's like, you don't pay me anything. Once we find a home for you, the commission is paid by the person selling the home. So I wanted to clear that up. So in the interest of that, sellers always need to make sure that they can add up how much they owe on the property to be able to pay it off, because it does have to have a clean title, has to be paid in full, no liens, no issues with the title. It has to have a clean title. You also have to be able to pay the prorated taxes. They provide you a HUD 1 is what it's called before you get ready to close, that list all of your fees and the different things that you'll have to pay. You also have to have enough in there to accommodate paying the commission for the buying agent and your selling agent. You also, if you agree to pay some type of closing costs, you also have to have that. And then if you have enough to pay all of those items, then they cut you a check at closing for the remaining amount. Or if you have a balance at the end of it, then you'll pay that, at closing before the property can sell. So those are some tips on selling properties and things that you need to look out for as far as with the realtors, the commissions, property disclosures. And I will have more videos coming out here soon with more information for sellers, different tips they can do on trying to get their property sold quickly. Just some basic tips, for things that you could do to your home in order to get it ready to go on the market. So, all right, I hope you guys found this informative. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to help me out and hit like and subscribe. It'll really, really help me out in growing my channel. I want to thank you guys so much in advance for your support. And thank you so much for watching. Till next time.